Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Sandapadaratna. Grab your favorite drink, grab a book, and a snack, and we will get started. Now, don't read the book until this is over, but be ready to try your new book. So I currently have some water with me, I have a peach, and I have a new book series to me. It is the Book Collector Mysteries, and I have to tell you, I'm on book number 3 of the series, and it is kind of quirky and fun. It's about a lady who solves mysteries. There's not always a murder, which is really nice. And she is a book collector for an older woman, and it is just really fun and fanciful. So I have done something that I've been nervous about for years, and I've wanted to do. I cannot tell you how many years. I am starting a book club. Now, this is not, you're like, Jenny, this is not rocket science, but I am stepping outside. I've been telling you for a couple weeks now, like, hey, let's go get them. And so that is what I have done. I have gone and gotten them, and I have a book club starting in September, and I'm very excited about it. We're not reading that book series the first time, but I'm hoping that everybody will bring books to the table and be like, this is my favorite, and we'll go from there. Anyway, let's get real. That was a long introduction. I know when you walk into a room, sometimes there's a smell or a taste that you have that will zip you back to another time, right? Have you ever been there where you're walking through, even when you're walking through the library, and you walk into a certain section and a smell will hit you and you will travel back to 6 years old? I call those things triggers. I know that triggers can be used as like a negative thing, but I want to talk a little bit about how I use those in a very positive way in my own life. So we went to a thing called General Counsel. As a family, my daughter performed there. She did fabulous and, did all these different competitions. My husband and I just met with people, and it was a good time, but it was very overwhelming. A lot of people that my husband knows, because he's honestly just a bigger deal than I am, which is fine. But it was very overwhelming as an introvert. So on our way home, we are driving out of town. And we're going to take a really slow way home. It was only like a 13-hour drive from the place that we were at to home. But we decided to use some of our free hotels and take just 4 hours a day. And so we took 2 nights overnight just to kind of take it easy and spend time, just the 3 of us, without a ton of people, watching. So we're driving out of town, and I turned to my husband and I said, we need to stop at McDonald's. And he was like, huh? Didn't we have breakfast before we left? Because we stayed in an Airbnb and I had a piece of toast before we left. But I knew that I needed McDonald's. Now, this sounds really strange, but let me explain the backstory to it. So when I was a kid, whenever we went on vacation, my parents would let us go to McDonald's once or twice during that vacation, and we got to have breakfast at McDonald's. And I will never forget, in all my life, I can even tell you where it was, where I had my first sausage McMuffin with egg. Now, that may not be your thing, and that's okay. And I don't know that they're the healthiest thing on the planet. In fact, I know they're not. But before that, we all had to split pancakes. So my parents would order 2 pancakes, 2 sets of pancakes, and my brother, sister, and I would each get 2 pancakes out of the 6, right? We would have to split pancakes. But I remember we were in South Dakota, and my dad was like, Jenny, what do you want? And I was like, wait, what do I want? I will never forget. I was so excited. I was like, you mean I can order something grown up? And he was like, yes, you can order something, anything you want. And I ordered a sausage McMuffin with egg. And it just became what I would have on every vacation. Whenever we got to stop, that is what I did. I got to have my sausage McMuffin with egg. I never got them any other time of the year, at least that I remember. They were just special on vacation. So I knew that if I stopped at McDonald's and I got a sausage McMuffin with egg with an orange juice, because they go together, because I even got an orange juice that day, which was super exciting because that was like, now I'm grown up, right? I don't think I liked it, but I do remember feeling quite grown up. So I knew the day we were coming back from General Council that if I stopped at McDonald's, I would know that I was on vacation. And we got out, we ordered our food. You know, my daughter got a Fanta because you always get a Fanta when you go to McDonald's. And I took a bite of my sausage McMuffin with egg. And it was just in that moment that I went, okay, Jenny, you can now relax. You know, smells and tastes and certain things, sounds, touch even, will bring you back to a place of relaxation or a place of stress. Or, you know, there are so many things that those sensations can bring you back to. And I have learned to use that to the best of my ability, like going to McDonald's. Now, I really didn't eat anything for lunch because I was full, but I knew that I felt like my blood pressure went down several notches. Now, did it really? Probably not. But I knew that it was now I could spend the time that I wanted to spend and just relax with my family. In fact, that evening I left my family in the hotel room and I went to a Hallmark store. And I just walked around the Hallmark store, looking at cards, smelling candles, looking at puzzles. It was just so relaxing. And I think that so often in our lives, we overlook things that will bring our mindset to a place of happiness or relaxation or just good memories. Like, we don't set those things up in our lives very often. Some people are really great at it, and other people, it just kind of accidentally happens. And for me, most of my life, it has accidentally happened. I will never forget when I walked into a library in Grand Rapids, and we were newly married. I mean, like, months. We had just been married months, and we walked into this library to get a library card because we were living in the area. And there was a smell when I walked in that I started shaking because I remember this smell not being a positive situation. I don't know what the smell was now to this day, but I do remember thinking, I don't like this library. Now that library is now gone and they've built a new one, and it's one of my favorites in the state of Minnesota that we've actually gone on vacation and visited. So yes, we're that family. We are that family that goes to towns and sees your library. But there is something really special about setting those moments up. Like, my husband is not the best sleep. Like, he's not good at falling asleep. That's not something he's really ever been great at. Once he wakes up, he is up. Like, he's not a great sleeper. And so he actually plays a music every single night that when he hears that music, you can visibly see his whole body just kind of shut down and go, okay, it's time to relax. In fact, it's on a TV show that I love. The British baking show. And so when I'm watching it and he's not in the room and he comes in, I'm like, it's not bedtime. It's okay. It's only 6 p.m. But his body will visibly relax. And so I just want to encourage you as we're moving into fall and we're moving into a new season of busyness and appointments and soccer games and all these kind of crazy things that your kids and your family gets involved in, and churches start ramping up and looking for volunteers. And I mean, I could go on and on. All of a sudden the PTA comes to your door and you're like, okay, how did you know I attended your school? I don't want to be on the committee. I'm good. But there's so many things that kind of come at us in the fall, that opportunities that are great opportunities that I'm not saying you need to say no to, but I am saying you need to figure out, first of all, what you want to do. How do you want this fall and winter and spring really to look like for you? What do you want your time to look like? Now, I realize that you're like, Jenny, I don't really have control. I've got all these kids and I've got my husband going this way and I've got my boss over here and they really need help at church. I understand that. But if you put together your priorities and what's important to you first, then you can say yes to the right things and no to the wrong things, right? And to put things in place, those quote unquote triggers to in the middle of complete and utter chaos. In fact, when I was at my former job, now this is full circle, at my former job, when I was having a really bad day, do you know what I did? I would drive through the McDonald's drive-through and get myself a sausage McMuffin with egg. And I would eat it in the car with my orange juice. Now, probably not my healthiest mode. That was when I, gained a bunch of weight. So I'm not necessarily saying you need to go out and binge food. But I am saying I knew even then that I needed a reminder that this wasn't everything, that the stress in my life wasn't the only thing happening, and that there could be time for me. There could be a 5 to 10 minute window that I go, hey, I can relax, and it would just trigger those feelings of everything's going to be okay. And so I want you to think about what that could be for you, whether it's lighting candles or reading a book or taking time driving through a drive-through. I don't know what that is for you, but I do know as we're walking through this fall, if you've made your priorities and you know what to say yes to and you know what to say no to, and even when you're overwhelmed, if you can figure out a few things that you can go to and say, you know what, I am really overwhelmed right now. I am going to light a candle and I'm going to sit in a silent room for 5 minutes. It probably can't be more than that for most of you because there's so much going on and there's a constant demand. But I'm encouraging you to see if you can find that. I love a walk, but honestly, I love a walk around a little pond. If you get me to a pond, I can just sit there, and if I get to walk around it, it is one of the most relaxing things in my life. And it doesn't need to be an hour. It doesn't need to be for even 15, 20 minutes. It can be 5 minutes in front of the lake, just taking a deep breath and going, God, I know you see me, and I know you see the chaos. And yes, I should have said no, but now here I am, and I don't know what to do. And I need you. And so my prayer for you in this season, as we're getting closer to fall, that you will put those things in your path, that you will figure out a couple things to do to bring you back to knowing that God's in control, and that the certain situations that's happening is not what life is all about. And that you will make your priorities and say yes to the right things and say no to the things that are going to be overwhelming. It's okay. You don't have to be all things to all people. And that is super hard to hear and even harder to live out because we want to be able to do everything. We want to be that person that they're like, hey, Jenny, can you bake for our bake sale? Honestly, never been called for a bake sale, but that's okay. But you want to be that, right? You want to be needed. You want to be someone that you're the first person they call. But also, I want you to be the first person to say no for yourself and to set up situations where you can take time for yourself. Well, that's all I have for this week. I just am super excited about what God's going to be doing in your life as you learn what you really want. And that's really the hardest part, right? Like, what do you really want to get out of this fall? And I'm hoping it's a good book. So you can find Real Life with Jenny on Facebook, Instagram, and Be Real. You can also find all of my information on christconnection.cc/Jen. I am really looking forward to hearing what things you've said yes to and what things you've said no to, and find out what things you have done to put in place when things feel overwhelming that will constantly remind you that God's in control and that the circumstances are not. Have a great week.